Good afternoon, everyone. It's Michelle with Southern Inspirations. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday afternoon. I have a fabulous treat for you today, and that is pot roast. And I'm doing it in my cast iron Dutch oven. So raise your hand if you love pot roast, especially on a Sunday afternoon. It just makes for a good family dinner, right? Well, a lot of times I do pot roast in either a pressure cooker, the Instapot, or even a crock pot where you can kind of set it and forget it. But when I have time to do my roast in the cast iron Dutch oven, I really like to do that. I like to cook it low and slow. And so that's what I'm doing this afternoon. So I've gotten it to a point to where I'm going to add some things to show you, and then we're going to stick it in the oven, and I'm going to let it cook at about 250 for about probably 3 hours to begin with, and then I'll check it, and it may have to go another hour or so. So again, welcome. Thank you for joining, and I'm letting you into my kitchen to see how I'm doing pot roast in the cast iron Dutch oven this afternoon. I'm going to move the camera in just a second, but to let you see the roast that's in here. But before I do, I want to tell you what I did. I bought a chuck roast about 2.5 pounds. It's for 3 of us, Brad, Hannah, and I. And so a 2.5 pounder is plenty for us. As you know, it will shrink some. I like a good chuck roast. That's just what I prefer when I do my roast. But of course, you pick your favorite, whether it's round or whatever type it might be. And so I took that chuck roast and I coated it with salt and pepper. That's it. And then I covered it very, very well with flour. Y'all know me. My mama says Martha White flour is the best. So I coated both sides with flour. And I poured a little bit of vegetable oil. You can always use olive oil in the bottom of my skillet. I don't know, maybe 3 tablespoons, not very much. And got it just really, really hot, this Dutch oven over there on the stove. And let me get my tongs here. Maybe I can pick it up and show y'all without bringing the camera over. But I browned all sides of it. And so now it's just this beautiful, let's see here, this beautiful brown color, okay? Browned it on both sides and then up, you know, on the edges. And really, that's just to give it that good, it's to kind of to seal in those juices, and that little bit of drippings down in there in that Dutch oven proves to be just bring really, really good flavor as it's cooking throughout the next 3 hours or so. So again, chuck roast, salt and pepper all over, flour all over, and then I browned it just, you know, just enough to just be brown and kind of seal in all those juices of the roast. So now I'm going to show you what all I'm going to add to it before I put it in the oven. And you know what? I am going to try to move the camera and show y'all because this is just so beautiful. All right. So, see if I can get this camera. Okay, y'all are seeing my, okay, there we go. So there it is. And again, like I said, I browned it on all sides, just a real pretty brown. And so now, let me tell you what I'm gonna add to it. Y'all know we love gravy, and I love making homemade gravy. So if I'm gonna fry like hamburger steak or cube steak or anything like that, I save my drippings, of course. Let me make sure. Hey Judy, thanks for joining. I save my drippings in that pan and I remove my meat, and then of course I do my roux and add my water to get me a gravy. However, when I'm doing roast, since it's just all right here and the meat is staying in here, I do it a little bit different. But like I said earlier, I still want that oil down in there and those little pieces from the meat that have kind of cooked down in there that just gives it some fabulous flavor. So I make up a little gravy concoction that I add to this that ends up blending very well with that flour, because some of that flour that has fallen off the meat, you know, down into the grease, you've got that little mini roux going on already, and that it's going to continue to cook while you have this in the oven. So I have this bowl ready here that I'm going to pour over this, and let me tell you what's in it. I use 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. What did we do without cream of mushroom soup? Like, I don't remember there ever being a time when we didn't have it, so thank you, Campbell's. I use 1 package of beefy onion soup mix. I love onion soup mix, and I like the beefy onion. It just gives it a little more flavor than the regular onion. Y'all, you're gonna be surprised, because you know I like my homemade gravy. But I put 1 jar of this home style gravy, Heinz, the savory beef. It's real creamy. I like the flavors in it. And so I mix that in with my cream of mushroom soup and my Lipton onion, beefy onion soup mix. Then I also add some pepper and some salt. And y'all, let's talk about the salt real quick. I've got there are a lot of things that I'm using here that have quite a bit of sodium. Your Lipton onion soup mix has quite a bit of sodium. Your soup, anything, as you know, preserved and canned, you're already getting quite a bit of salt there. And even my beef broth, which I'm going to talk to you about in a second, my Worcestershire, everything I'm using here has a lot of salt. So when I salted my meat, and even when I salt my gravy mixture, I'm using kosher salt. And I'm not, you know, I'm being conservative with it. Kosher salt's real good to bring out your flavor, but without everything being too salty. And so I do use it, but just be mindful not to make it too salty. So I did my salt and pepper. So I've got all that mixed up, and I'm pouring it directly into the Dutch oven over that roast that I have browned. And y'all, I cannot tell you how good this kitchen is smelling already. I cannot wait. I'm doing this for Hannah. She is home for spring break, and I love to cook for her when she's home. The problem is she doesn't always like all the things we like. She's a little bit more of a picky eater than Brad and I, but she does like her some roast with some good gravy, okay? So there's that. Put that over here in the sink out of the way. Okay, then I'm going to take just a few little splashes of Worcestershire. Not much, just a few, probably 4 or 5 splashes. And then this wonderful little Maggi seasoning, have y'all ever seen that? I do just probably 2 or 3 splashes of that. Not much, maybe a couple more, but smaller splashes, okay? And normally I put 2 to 3 full-size bay leaves. I'm down to the bottom of my bay leaves, and they're kind of broken up, so whatever's in there, yep, let's get it in the pan. So that's probably the equivalent of 2 bay leaves. They were broken up, and I've already got this on the grocery list because I need some more bay leaves. And I really like to put a couple of stems of fresh rosemary on top. I don't have the fresh rosemary, so I'm going to use just the dried rosemary, fairly generous with the sprinkles, okay? And let me get my garlic. I always have a little jar of minced garlic on hand in case I don't have fresh, or if I may have some fresh over there. I just forgot to get it ready. Let me grab a fork. So I'm going to do, I love garlic, and I think it gives it just a great flavor. If I had the whole cloves, I would just probably throw two or three cloves in here. So there's that's probably a couple of cloves worth right there. So there's that, okay? Then from there, I'm gonna put my vegetables in, okay? I've got pretty nice chunks of onion cut up over here, and then I've got the baby carrots. I'm not putting potatoes in here because I'm going to do mashed potatoes. Hannah really likes the mashed potatoes, and if I don't get back on here earlier to show y'all the finished product of the roast and the mashed potatoes, I'll at least post a picture and tell you how I do my mashed potatoes, but I'll try to jump back on. So I'm going to take my big chunks of onion, just white onion. I use yellow onion most of the time. As you know, it's got a little bit of a sweeter taste, but excuse me, here lately I've just been wanting kind of that bold flavor of a white onion, so I bought some white onion. And I do have a red one over there that I'm kind of looking at. I like the red onion too. Let's face it, I like all onion. And then I'm going to put my carrots. The funny thing about carrots, I don't eat them that often. I'm not one to just sit around and snack on carrots, but I really like them in a roast. Hannah's not going to touch the carrots. She's not going to touch the onion. But I make these chunks big enough that, and of course I know they'll shrink, but they're big enough to where she can still get her meat serving out without saying, ew, there's onion. And I'm not going to put this whole bag. As good as carrots are in a roast, I just still don't want like too many, and I don't want there to be that too much of a carroty taste. So I've got about half a bag of those already washed little mini carrots. Okay, then y'all, I take my beef broth and barely cover, I don't even cover the entire roast because we like a nice consistency to the gravy, not too thick, not too thin, but you know, that good kind of consistency that you want to go on mashed potatoes. And so I just take and pour, I don't know, maybe a quarter cup if I had to guess. I'm not real good at measuring, am I? And I'm going to pick up the camera. Let me see if I've forgotten anything. Got all my seasonings. Oh, I do want to do just a little more salt. Again, I told y'all to be careful, but I want to make sure those onions and carrots kind of pick up some salt. Isn't this the cutest little kosher salt holder with a little spoon? And then a little bit more pepper. By the way, something you can use instead of the beef broth, if you have it on hand, if you are a red wine drinker, using red wine instead of the beef broth also gives it a very, very good flavor. Of course, you know the alcohol cooks out, so you don't have to worry about that, but you can use that, but I'm using beef broth. So I think I have everything in there. I'm going to bring the camera over here one more time to show y'all. All right, there it is. All right, oh, y'all bear with me. Isn't that beautiful? And then, just because I kind of take my spoon and stir it up just a little bit, I want to get those veggies down in there good. And I'm making sure the veggies are covered up with my little gravy mixture I made. So, I am going to get my lid. Y'all, this cast iron Dutch oven is so heavy. I wish I could give you this cool story about that it's been in my family for a long time and all that, but I can't. But the sweet story that I can tell you is that my husband and my daughter bought this for me a few years ago because they knew that I wanted one. I do have several cast iron skillets, but I did not have a good, nice size, large size cast iron Dutch oven. So those sweetie pies were in one of the antique stores and bought this for me one year. I can't remember if it was a special occasion or they just did it. So, but y'all, it is so heavy. And so I had, with the lid on too, I had to take one of the racks out of the oven to make sure that it goes in there well and gives me plenty of room to clear the oven. So my oven is on 250 and I'm gonna set it for 3 hours and then I'm gonna check it and stir it, and I anticipate it's going to take another 1 or 2 hours being a 2.5 pound roast, it's not going to take like 8 hours or anything. So I will, like I said, I'm going to try to jump back on here when it's either done or close to getting done, when I get ready to do those mashed potatoes, and then y'all can see. If I don't get on here, well then I'll post pictures. So that is my pot roast. I would love to hear that I do in my big cast iron Dutch oven. I would love to hear how you do your pot roast. When you cook it like this, again, I know lots of us like to use an Instapot, pressure cooker, crock pot. Crock pot's always easy, set it and forget it. But since it's Sunday afternoon and I'm going to be at the house and had plenty of time to do this, I decided to do it this way, and I can't wait. It's going to be so tender and so juicy and so yummy. So thank you all for joining. I appreciate your support of Southern Inspirations. Keep watching, and I'll try to come back later. Live life, y'all. Bye.